Carol, thanks for coming. Really appreciate you being here. Thank you everybody else for sticking around for this last little segment here, little palate cleanser as we call it, where we're going to talk about extinction today. So we're going to talk about recent extinctions. I was in was it last night or the night before? I was talking to somebody in a stream, and we brought up the topic of crocodiles. CryptoCorner was there. Was that on Richard Matson's stream? Yes, Richard was there, and I was telling them about crocodiles, these crocodilians that lived fairly recently, that lived in trees and stuff, that did not that were not super closely related to modern crocodiles. They were called Mekosuchus or Mekosuchids. There's a few different species on them, and they were. This group was prevalent in the southern hemisphere, in the old Gondwana land, if you will. And they died out everywhere except for mainly in Oceania. A large species did live in Australia too. Let me get this pulled up here so y'all can see what I'm talking about. Mekosuchus, and yeah, I'm just pulling up the wiki article so you guys can see. It's pretty basic stuff. Quicana was the big one. That's the one a lot of people think about when they talk about this group of crocodiles, because they were xiphodonts, which means their teeth weren't the teeth of like an aquatic ambush predator, like a saltwater crocodile, or crocodiles, modern crocodiles in general. There's no crocodile with teeth like this alive today, because their teeth are meat shearing. These were hyper predators. They were terrestrial crocodiles with meat shearing teeth. That Australia, they died out with the rest of the megafauna. They lived alongside Megalania, the giant monitor lizard. Obviously, saltwater crocodiles were around at this time too. There was also the Thylax Clio, the marsupial lion, if you will. A lot of huge carnivores this thing was living alongside in Australia. But when Australia got visited by humans, we started to wipe out all these magnificent giants and left hardly any trace of them as well, unfortunately. So what we have known is from little scattered fragments like this today. But we were able to build a good phylogenetic tree of them and give an idea of what the groups look like. Now here's a map of where we're able to find evidence of these organisms and their dominance in their ecosystem. Right, these xiphodontic teeth that allow them to shred meat, and cursorial legs. They were ambush hunters. They were designed to run things down, not long distances, but just to do an ambush attack. And they were successful for quite a while. Why is it important to show this map of where they're located, or where they were located when they existed? Because while they went extinct, basically all over their entire range, well before modern science could even be dreamt of, well before civilized man, or whatever you want to call it, before the rise of civilization, they were long extinct. These weren't driven to extinction by Westerners or anything, but there were some groups that did survive the Holocene extinction event, and groups of these meat shearing crocodiles, right? These wild looking organisms, and they were called terrestrial crocs. There were ones in Fiji. Now, these ones were actually quite large, up to 10 feet long. So this is not something you'd want to tangle with. They were powerful predators. And this one lived until the late Pleistocene. They were, as you see here, hunted by humans in Fiji when it was colonized, and they were driven to extinction. Now, this was fairly recently. There's some other ones here too in the Mekosuchinae that were also very, very recent. So let's see here. I thought I had the list pulled up here, but there was the New Caledonian. Yeah, here we go. There are 4 species of Mekosuchinae recognized, the first discovered, and the youngest is the type species Mekosuchinae inexpectus from the Holocene of New Caledonia, which became extinct at some point in the last 4,000 years. So you're talking within the time that, within historic time on this 4,000 years ago is not, I mean, you're looking at Mesopotamia in full bloom, the pyramids, things like that being already established, and there are these terrestrial and arboreal, because some of these species are thought to have lived in trees based on the structure of their claws. So arboreal and tree crocs that are out there. in these Pacific islands, right, in modern time. But these islands New Caledonia was a wild place. It had giant horned turtles and stuff up until this time. It had this really almost analogous with being as bizarre and unique as the Galapagos, but bizarre and unique in its own way. Right, it had, whereas like the Galapagos had the giant tortoises, it had these horned tortoises. The Galapagos have the marine iguanas. It had tree crocodiles. It was this unique, that we just missed, this unique biology mix, that everything was filling different niches than what they were in the rest of the world. It was just been fascinating to see this. And New Caledonia would have been lit to see about 8,000 years ago, just to go visit. Like I say, documentary. Like I'd love to see a documentary just on New Caledonia fauna, or Fiji too, but New Caledonia specifically because it had more than just the arboreal crocs. And yeah, anyway, that is what I wanted to give a quick shout out to, because this came up, and this is a good example of how humans can directly impact the wildlife of an area, in no doubt to a detrimental level, to the detriment of the organisms that it shares the world with. We are very cruel to the natural environments. We don't mean to be. Well, sometimes we do. Sometimes it's just indifference, but it's mostly the things that we bring with us when we come. But in addition to bringing diseases of our own to inflict upon the indigenous populations who don't have the proper immunities to survive that, our birds bring pathogens to the island's birds. Our animals our pets bring sickness to the indigenous mammals. Our parasites infect them. Our pest species, rats, the indigenous island mammals can't compete with them, and the other fauna the other native fauna on the islands, their eggs and young can't compete with the again, rats, and also then you start getting into predators like cats and dogs that attack and feed on these organisms, and humans who also hunt them for food, sport, and just out of fear and ignorance of the organism, they'll kill it. But that's been the history of our spread around the globe, so get used to it. And yeah, so that's going to cover that topic.